II has successfully concluded, marking a historic milestone in human space exploration. After a remarkable 10-day journey around the moon, the 4 astronauts have now returned safely to Earth on board the Orion space capsule, completing a breathtaking splashdown that signals a new era in lunar missions. The mission not only demonstrated critical capabilities for deep space travel, but also delivered valuable scientific insights that are expected to shape the future of exploration beyond Earth. Artemis II has already etched its name in the history books, setting multiple records, including the farthest distance that has been traveled by humans, the first woman to venture beyond the low Earth orbit, and the first non-American to reach deep space. And when it comes to, more importantly, Artemis II lays a strong foundation for the ambitious Artemis program that paves way for the upcoming missions as well. So let's connect with a guest joining us here on the broadcast. As Dr. Amitabh Bosch is back with us. Thank you very much for staying on with us. And we have Jijit also joining in, former ISRO scientist. Well, Jijit, it's been a historic moment that we've all witnessed. We're all bright up and early to watch this. The splashdown has happened. It was smooth. Yes, there were some tense moments as well. But nonetheless, I mean, it paves way for future space expeditions. And of course, India has a lot to learn from this.
Yes, definitely. This is the kind of moment every scientist or every space enthusiast was waiting for. And if you contrast it with the 1969 Apollo mission, right? So the technology has improved a lot. The cameras and the visuals that are coming are breathtaking and dramatic. And compared to the earlier kind of a space race missions, which is basically United States have a race with the Soviet Union. But today, the kind of objectives are very different. For example, this is currently the mission series is considered as a gateway into the solar system exploration, starting with moon as a kind of a milestone. And our main objective is to go to Mars. And this is the kind of a stepping stone where we have first of all restart our presence on the moon. So currently this is Artemis III mission. After that, the 4 and 5, then we are actually planning to have a permanent presence on the moon, having launches, manned moon launches every year, starting from 2028. So we are actually going back to the moon in a big way and having a kind of a permanent presence. That's the kind of the objective for this series. And this is this particular mission is maybe the first of its kind, and the first of the restart and our objective of going back to moon.
India also is inspired when it comes to such missions and successful missions there, because we have our own very ambitious space programs. But Dr. Amitabh, one of our previous guests on the broadcast, were also saying that in a very long time they've actually heard good news, because there are wars and conflicts happening back on Earth. And this is space history that is being created, of course, with President Trump also having congratulated the crew for the mission that they've accomplished.
Yes, indeed. I think I think there is a lot of news and content out there. And as you rightly said, that not everything is very cheerful. So, of course, if there is some story about space or something you think is uplifting, and you see an enormous viewership, I think. If you think of the NASA website, we have had a record amount of people tuning in to see the live thing from I'm sure your program is probably being watched by many people. So indeed, I think it's a change from everything you see around, which is not as positive. And, I think part of it is, if you think of the young people, I think when I grew up, there was a newspaper and there was Doordarshan, and there was this one news channel. So there was a limited exposure of all the news in the world. And so compared to people who are growing up now, it's very tough to digest and process all this other and unending news, right? So this is something uplifting, and that's what you can say. I think we're just going to dip in
to the live commentary that has been coming in, what NASA has been sharing, and live pictures that have been streamed. So where exactly is the mission as of now when it comes to the extraction of the astronauts is concerned? All right. We'll just dip in as in when we get those, the voices coming in, because Artemis II astronauts have witnessed something that has never been seen before, especially when it comes to parts of the moon's surface and those areas that are far side, which are not visible from Earth, because that part of the moon that always faces away from our planet, and even Apollo astronauts that they couldn't, view much of the moon's far side because of their paths and the timing and their flights as well. But as I said, President Trump has congratulated the entire team, the crew of the astronauts and also of NASA. And he's now been waiting, because there also was a live conversation that happened, right in the middle of the mission, where President Trump had that conversation with the astronauts. And now that they are back, so he's giving them a very warm welcome. President Trump says, congratulations to the great and very talented crew of Artemis II. The entire trip was spectacular. The landing was perfect. And as President of the United States, I could not be more proud. I look forward to seeing you at the White House soon, and we'll be doing it again and again. And next step is Mars. So he is now looking forward to the next space expectations. That's now what we are looking at, because by having this access to the Artemis framework, this is something that India can also design, when it comes to systems and components that are also compatible with the lunar infrastructure. Let's in the meantime also take a look why Artemis II mission matters a lot, because what we are looking at, human seems to be venturing deep into space, and the next step, towards the moon, the missions that have also built a lot of pathway when it comes to the Mars mission, as President Trump has been pointing out. And as far as the follow-up on the Artemis 3 and the 4 missions as well, because that is the test system for future crew flights as well. And that will now take shape of future space, human space travel. That seems to be the importance that we are now looking at, with multiple critical system experiments that seems to have also happened on board. Let's in the meantime also talk, take a look exactly when it comes to the historic verse, why Artemis II holds a lot of significance. Because as far as the space exploration is concerned, we are looking at more than 4 lakh kilometers. This is the farthest distance that has been actually traveled by humans. Then, of course, another one is a feat where a first woman to go beyond the low Earth orbit, and that is Christina Koch. And, when it comes to the other crew as well, there was also a first non-American to reach deep space. When we speak of Jeremy Hansen coming in from Canada, first person of color to go to the moon as well, Victor Glover also. So that seems to be one of the many first that has also been established as far as this mission is concerned, and a very successful one. So, Dr. Amitabh, if you can complete your point over here, why this mission holds a lot of importance and why does it matter?
Okay. So let me just back up and tell you the overall picture. So you keep hearing about the International Space Station. So that's what we've been doing. So we went to the moon in 69 and 72, and then we are kind of stuck. We kept on going to the International Space Station, which is just 250 miles away. Now, this is the moon. We have gone here, and it's probably 250,000 miles away. So this is a step. And you talk about going to Mars. That's going to take a little more time, because Mars is 200 million miles away. So if it takes 3 days to go to the moon, it takes 6 months to go to Mars, when it is on the right side of the sun, when Earth and Mars are on the right side. When it's on the opposite side, it will take maybe 18 months. So this is maybe a very tiny, small step to go to Mars. This is really about going back to the moon. Okay. The second thing is, we have been to the moon before. So what's so special about it? Indeed, there is. So this was not even a landing. It was just a rotation around the moon. So next mission is going to be really critical, where there is boots on the ground. So the people are going to walk on the ground. And even then, well, we've already done that before. So we are going in a very different era, very different technology era, with very different historical era. The next step would be setting up a base on the moon, something like the International Space Station, where you can visit and maintain presence and see whether you can live there for 365 days a year.
Yes, sir.
So that is the whole thing. And as you said, space travel.
Yes.
Space travel, humans are not really very equipped for that. Something which was launched 50 years ago, Voyager mission, has barely
Yes, sir.
traveled outside the solar system. So that's how slow we are. So space travel,
But sir,
I
steps
think
that have been taken, nonetheless, they are historic. And as I mentioned on the India point of view, Jijit, would you want to add to that? Because, having access to the Artemis framework, what can India do, especially when it comes to designing systems and components which are compatible with the global lunar infrastructure?
Yeah, in fact, our astronauts who are bound for the Chandrayaan series have already gone and have the similar kind of experiments. So the next mission is the docking, undocking kind of a mission, and the same spacecraft configuration is being used. So in fact, it's a great to see this ISRO NASA kind of a collaboration, where our astronauts also getting the kind of a similar kind of experience of the latest space technology in terms of docking, undocking, and exploration missions. So all this will get this knowledge gets spilled over into ISRO, and this is kind of a kind of a follow-up activities. For example, whatever ISRO currently doing.
Right,
is that it is doing the same steps
because
of NASA.
Aiming to launch the first crewed space flight program with Gaganyaan craft, and when it comes to the Indian astronauts, to send them to this 400-kilometer low Earth orbit for 3-day mission and then safely return, what has now been expected in 2027. Well, fingers crossed for that. But thank you very much, Dr. Amitabh and Jijit, for joining us here on the broadcast. This has been exciting journey that we have also tracked in the last 2 hours alone of this historic splashdown that has now happened and off the coast of San Diego in the United States. Let's in the meantime